Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm gonna show you the most unknown, or rather the most obscure RPGs published by Atlus. And this is bottom of the barrel, man. The Abyss, the most extremely obscure RPGs published by this company. Are they any good? Well, we're gonna have to find out. So let's begin! Number 10. Tsugunai Atonement. This one is very obscure, first because of its title and cover not resembling anything RPG related, second because half of the games published by Atlus of America usually didn't get any useful marketing whatsoever. It was developed by Cattle Call with music from Yasunori Mitsuda himself. The protagonist dies because he angered the gods when trying to steal an important treasure from them, so in punishment, or rather atonement, he comes back as a spirit forced to do dangerous jobs. In order to do that, he will have to enter people's bodies and control them to be able to move around and fight. Battles are played in turns in the simplest way possible and with no party members, with some pros and cons depending on the character you're currently possessing. Each quest has a story and some of them can be somewhat dark. I highlight the concept and the story here, it's definitely a hidden gem out there. Number 9. Revelations the Demon Slayer. It doesn't look like it, but it's part of the many spin-offs in the Megami Tensei franchise. Its original name was changed to avoid a religious controversy. It was originally called Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible. In fact, it's the only one in the entire Last Bible miniseries that made it out of Japan. Released on the Game Boy and the Game Gear over there, but miraculously we got the Game Boy Color release. Is it any good? Well, you control a young magic student in a very traditional gameplay. You'll visit a town, then the overworld, then a dungeon, then another town, and so on. Random encounters take you to the combat screen, which is classic Mega 10 battle system. The demons, you can fight them, or bribe them, or talk to them in an attempt to recruit them. It's pretty much Shin Megami Tensei for beginners or even kids, dare I say. It's good, yes, but I think any other SMT title is better. Number 8. Steamboat Chronicles Battle Tournament. You probably didn't know there was a second Steamboat Chronicles game. This is on the PSP and it's a sequel to the PS2 game, but only in name as it has nothing to do with it in terms of story or characters. It's actually more of a spin-off than anything. Well, it's also like a watered-down version in terms of everything. Town is way smaller, no more extra minigame features, quest-driven instead of story-driven, etc. My conclusion is that this game is merely fan service for die-hard fans of the original game. Truth be told though, it's quite decent nonetheless. Still an action RPG where you'll do a variety of different jobs for the citizens or the guild, but it's quite repetitive and it gets old real quick. This is the reason why it's considered more of a sandbox adventure game than a real RPG. It isn't bad, but it's definitely for big fans of the first game, let's leave it at that. Number 7. Summon Night Twin Age. A spin-off that Atlus localized for whatever crazy-ass reasons they came up with. While all the other Summon Night games were strategy or action, this one, it's weird. It's a top-down view action RPG with some real-time strategy elements. You will do absolutely everything with the damn stylus, while characters and enemies fight by themselves. Only 3 characters can participate in battles, but the first 2 will always be the main characters. You'll choose who your protagonist will be though, the guy or the girl, and the story will be slightly different, but at the end, it'll be the same. Stories about the spirits of nature going apeshit, so your characters will have to find out why. This game is boring, repetitive, and annoying. It isn't terrible, but I definitely do not recommend it. Number 6. Zoids Assault. Another boring as hell RPG is Zoids Assault, released exclusively on the 360. It's a grid-based strategy RPG where you'll be controlling the tank-looking Zoids, piloted by different characters. Its convoluted story will take you from one era to the other during an empire war. Instead of having the traditional anime style, it's more realistic and more militarized. Bland graphics, zero personality, no appeal, slow combat, uninteresting gameplay. It's quite unknown because, for starters, cover doesn't make it look like an RPG at all. Plus, the Zoids franchise is huge in Japan, but in the West, no one ever gave a rat's ass. Many other robot or mech series were already gaining terrain here, so the Zoids games were heavily overshadowed. Perhaps for good reasons? This is quite possibly the worst JRPG on the Xbox 360, but I think it's important to say it isn't terrible, just plain mediocre. Number 5. Monster Kingdom Dual Summoner. Koichi Okada, one of the creators of the Megami Tensei franchise, left Atlus in 2003. He created a studio called Gaia to develop this game and help Game Republic to develop Folklore. After a few failure games on PSP and iOS, Gaia's final game on the Wii was cancelled and the company disappeared. Monster Kingdom is a boring combination of Pokemon and Mega 10. The entire gameplay will revolve around capturing monsters and creatures to fight under your command. Your characters won't fight, their summons will instead, each one with different abilities and so on. You'll control Vice, a young summoner who wants to find his mother's killer. Yeah, sounds dark and cool, but then he joins a guild full of anime tropes and stereotyped characters in order to do that. A poorly written plot awaits you with great voice acting but lame character development. And honestly, that battle system is just nothing special, regardless of its ridiculous difficulty spikes. It's a meh game. Not bad, but not good either. Number 4. Dual Hearts. We've established at this point that most of these games are rather obscure because Atlus of America just didn't do enough marketing, probably due to the lack of budget. As a result, Dual Hearts, intended as a spiritual successor to the Alondra games, failed as well. You go inside people's dreams to find the keys to unlock doors guarding some holy instruments. The protagonists are Rumble and Tumble. Rumble needs to find the mysterious Dreamstone for personal reasons, and Tumble needs to find the instruments. Their goals align, so they journey together across these dreamlands. Puzzles galore, most of them nowhere near as brain-wrecking as in the first Alondra. Some camera and platforming issues are there, but nothing really game-breaking. The action is fun and controls are responsive, although it's nothing special. I think the game's real originality stands out during the boss fights, as they are each very different. That's where all the creativity truly flourishes. Overall, Dual Hearts is a solid game, a hidden gem, but one among the many Atlus forgotten publications. Number 3. The Robopond series. 3 games under the names Sun, Moon and Star versions were released on the Game Boy Color. We only got the Sun version. Sounds familiar? Yeah, Hudson Soft tried to do their own Pokemon clone, but with robots. It looks and plays exactly the same as Pokemon, and I mean exactly the same. Cody enters a tournament, so he needs to catch robots to have them fight. They battle in a turn-based system where all robots have their own elemental strengths and weaknesses. Should I go on? The sequel, Robopond 2 Cross and Ring versions, were also released outside Japan but now on the Game Boy Advance. They are direct sequels, so you control Cody once again on a different quest. He now needs to build a Robopond instead of catching one. I'll admit it, the graphics and pixels look really nice here, but it's the same Pokemon clone all over again. The battle system might feel slightly different and more traditional styled, but it's generic turn-based with really nothing special. The series died thanks to poor marketing, mediocre reviews, and lack of commercial appeal. A Nintendo 64 game was developed by Red Company, but only in Japan, and that's the last Robopond game ever released. Are they any good though? Yeah, they're fine, but only if you're into Pokemon clones. Number 2. Deep Labyrinth. Another deeply obscure JRPG where Yasunori Mitsuda was involved. This one is very unique even though it isn't my type of game. Sean travels with his dog and parents, but they get stranded outside a mysterious mansion. Everyone goes to investigate except Sean, but no one comes back. So Sean goes as well, but he gets trapped in a magic vortex, thankfully reuniting with the dog. So starts his quest to find his parents and get out of there. This plot's credit goes to the legendary genius Masato Kato. I guess he wanted to chill and create a kid's story for once, but like most of its scripts, the game has multiple endings depending on the player's performance or actions. Deep Labyrinth is an action RPG in first person but with good controls and interface. Sadly though, the fighting is controlled by the stylus. You need to draw it across the screen to have Sean swing his sword. By drawing different runes on the screen, you'll execute several magic spells. So is the game any good? I think it has a neat concept and it isn't bad, it just isn't my type of RPG like I mentioned before. Number 1. Drone Tactics. The most extremely unknown of it all, and it's actually one of the best here. As you may have guessed, it's a strategy RPG with player and enemy faces like in Fire Emblem. You control a bunch of bugs from all types that, thanks to the master cards, can be transformed into drones. That way they'll be able to fight against their enemies in short maps through terrain-affected areas. Upon making contact, they'll be able to use a melee, gun or cannon attack. Every drone excels in only one of those, so it's important to know what to use. And when the enemy attacks you, you'll be able to counter, defend or evade. Controls are great, as is the interface, the menus and the pacing. It's honestly a childish treat to strategy RPG lovers like me. And the story, well, these two kids are approached by talking insects from another world that's actually in danger. Since humans and bug lovers are the only ones who can use the master cards, they need their help to fight back the invading drone enemies of their world. It's okay, it's charming at best, but not the reason you'll play this game. Anyway, that name and that cover are definitely the reason why this RPG never succeeded in the market and got lost into oblivion. Alright guys, that's it. As you noticed, some of these games were pretty darn decent while others were kinda bad. Anyway, these were the most obscure RPGs published by Atlus. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!